Welcome to Her Remarkable History. Remember, to support, please subscribe. Elizabeth of York, the first Tudor Queen. Tudor history has become something of a popular thing in today's society. People are enthralled in the stories about Henry VIII and his 6 wives, and many would possibly even say, when asked, that Catherine of Aragon was actually the first Tudor Queen. But if you trace Henry VIII's family tree just enough back to his parents, you will find that his mother, Elizabeth of York, held the title of Queen Consort first. Elizabeth was born at Westminster Palace on the 18th of January 1486. She was the eldest child of Edward IV and Elizabeth Woodville, and initially a marriage had been arranged between her and George Neville, but that, along with another promised marriage to the Dauphin of France, did not take place. With 2 potential marriages now not having taken place, Elizabeth's world was turned upside down with what would happen next. Her father died, making her brother Edward V king. But because Edward was a minor, her uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, was appointed regent. He was a scheming man and moved to take the throne. He declared the marriage of his deceased brother bigamous, meaning that Elizabeth and her siblings were now ineligible for succession. You may have heard of the Princes in the Tower, a tale we shall look at another day, but those princes were Elizabeth's younger brothers, and they were imprisoned in the Tower of London, and then shortly after disappeared, presumed murdered by their uncle Richard, who later became King Richard III. It was at this point that Elizabeth's mother teamed up with Lady Margaret Beaufort. They planned to remove Richard from the throne by means of Margaret's son, Henry Tudor, moving to take the crown. It was also agreed that once Henry became king, he would marry Elizabeth. Henry swore an oath to this effect in Reims in December of 1483, and he began planning his invasion. It was then, on the 22nd of August 1485, that Henry and Richard fought at the Battle of Bosworth Field, and Henry emerged victorious. He was now King Henry VII. Henry was then crowned king on the 30th of October 1485, and he and Elizabeth then married on the 18th of January 1486. With this, Elizabeth would then become Elizabeth, Queen Consort, the first of the Tudor queens. She and Henry had 7 children in total, with only 4 surviving into adulthood. The first son was called Arthur, and he was in line to become king after his father, but he, only a young man, died, leaving his brother Henry to become King Henry VIII, and thus the legend of King Henry VIII and his 6 wives was born. It is believed that both Henry and Elizabeth had a happy marriage and genuinely loved each other, something that was a rare thing with royal matches. Elizabeth did not exercise much of a political stance as queen, mostly due to her strong-minded mother-in-law, Margaret Beaufort, but she was said to have been kind, gentle, and a generous lady. She had a love for books, music, dancing, and gambling, as well as spending time with her beloved husband. Elizabeth's legacy includes a son that became one of the most powerful kings of the era, and 2 daughters. 1, Mary, who became Queen of France, and 2, Margaret, Queen of Scotland. And a fascinating thought is that many modern-day royals, including Elizabeth II, can trace their ancestry all the way back up to Elizabeth of York through her daughter, Margaret. In Elizabeth's life, she was the daughter of a king, sister of a king, niece of a king, mother of a king, and wife of a king. She quite possibly was the most important player in the Tudor dynasty because, without her, the history we know would not have existed, and how very different it could have been if Richard III had not been defeated at the Battle of Bosworth Field. For Elizabeth and Henry had changed the fate of the country. Her continuance relied on the success of the Tudor dynasty that she had now created, but she and her husband rose to the challenge, and the Tudor dynasty lasted through 6 monarchs and over 118 years. Elizabeth went on to live until the 11th of February 1503. She is buried alongside her husband in Westminster Abbey. It is believed that Elizabeth had died following on from giving birth to her 8th child. a little girl who survived only a short amount of time. It's also believed that this little baby was a beacon of hope for both Henry and Elizabeth, a new life to help them in their recovery from the loss of their beloved son, Arthur. But fate had other ideas, and both the baby girl and Elizabeth died. Thank you for watching, and to support, please subscribe to Her Remarkable History. Thank you.